What is up, everybody? Aaron the Dog here, back with Aaron the Dog's MMA channel. And even though there is no UFC this weekend, that does not mean there is not MMA to be had and MMA to be broken down. So I am here to break down LFA 110. We've got an interim flyweight championship on the line. A lot of LFA champions make their way over to the UFC and other big organizations. So definitely still very important fights taking place on Fightpass tomorrow night, July 2nd at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's only MMA this weekend. We got the week off before the Dustin McGregor showdown pay-per-view fiasco that will be going down next week. A lot of the MMA news will be surrounding that, but there's an LFA to break down. On Aaron the Dog MMA channel, we always break down LFA, PFL, Bellator, UFC, and our best at breakdown ONE FC as well. But LFA is the only thing on docket this week, and so what do? We're here to break down the LFA. I had all week to just focus on these fights. Marcus Perez is back from the UFC after a losing skid, so we'll see if he can get back on track. Good flyweight title fight in the main event with Charles Johnson and Yuma Horiuchi, which I'm really looking forward to. But without further ado, I'm going to add the screen here, and we're going to go ahead and hop into this card here. LFA 110 taking place from Shawnee, Oklahoma. Got 6 fights on the docket, all being presented on UFC Fightpass. I believe Oklahoma, for one thing, does have open scoring, so that's always something I like to note. Open scoring, we're going to know going into the rounds who's winning. Charles Johnson has looked really good so far in his little LFA run since coming back after losing to Brandon Royval early. But we're going to start at the 125 division with flyweights Arpan Gurung and Oscar Herrera. If you're familiar with Tapology, you're going to see they both have the dreaded Chuck Norris photos. That means that there isn't any known photos of them that they were able to find. Both guys do have some amateur experience. The last time Arpan fought, he fought at 138. He's 5'9", however. Last time Oscar fought, he fought at 119. Factory X 5'6" flyweight here. So he's fighting at Denver, Colorado, fighting the Oklahoma product, both making their pro debut. Oscar Herrera's nickname is Moisturizer. That is unique, we can say. Sure, unique. 25 years old, 5'6", weighed in at 120 for his last fight, 119.5 to be exact. He did get a win there, had 2 decision wins to end his amateur career. Overall, only had 1 finish, but he had quite a long amateur career, amassing a pretty decent record of 8-6. So a lot of experience here. I looked through the names. I don't recognize the names. A lot of experience, a lot of decisions. Lost by TKO a couple times. Had won by a few submissions himself. So looks to be the grappler of the two of them here. We go over to Arpan, who has a size advantage, also 33 years old and weighed in at 138. So definitely curious to see the how he looks on the scales. Hasn't fought since October of 2018. It was a bantamweight fight. He weighed 144. Has 1 win by a knockout in the 3rd round as an amateur. Otherwise, he lost 3 decisions. So we got a 33-year-old against a 25-year-old out of Factory X. I just don't have a lot of tape I was able to find on these guys. I'm going to go with the Factory X product of Oscar Herrera. But I'd like to see the weigh-ins first. Minus 275 for a 0-0 against a 0-0. Definitely not what we're looking for. And so, yeah, that kind of as much thoughts as you can have on a 0-0 fight. So it's hopefully a good opener at flyweight here. We have the headliner at flyweight. It's on the prelims, so it's going to be on Facebook as well. But I saw the line, so I decided to make a read on it. Next fight here, we have a lot more information. It's at 185. It's Chibwickem Onyenjenka fought on the Contender Series against Antonio Anders. Taking on Renato Valente, the 7-4 product. Indio is his nickname, out of Brazil, 28 years old, going to be 29 next month, fighting on Top Brothers Gym. Has been a welterweight for most of his career, moving up to middleweight here, so that will be interesting. Taking this fight on short notice as well. 6 foot, 74-inch reach. Last fought in April of this year for the LFA, where he faced Mark Martin. That was a fight. Both myself and Brandon were very heavily on Mark Martin, and I think he gave Martin a good run in the fight. He did end up getting a little bit controlled with the wrestling, but most people are against Mark Martin. But I didn't exactly go out of that fight looking at him as not having a great performance. He ended up getting it turned around pretty quickly here, just a little over 2 months out of his last fight, and he's taking on a guy with a great record, 7-0, Chimbuekem Onyecheka, 27 years old, good striker, 6'3", 75-inch reach, out of California. Matt Grice, former UFC product, is his coach, fights out of the Forge MMA, has not fought since July of 2018. So that's the first thing that sticks out. Anthony Adams is who he beat by a split decision. It was a fight that I believe he was favored in. Yeah, he was almost a 2-1 favorite in that fight against Anthony Adams. Ended up being very close, very competitive. And Chimbuekem seems to have taken off a bit of time. I'm not sure what he's been doing in the meantime. Before that, had a lot of quick finishes against lower level of opponents here. Vellante really overachieved in his last fight to me, so I'd be interested coming into this one, how he performs. It's a very different opponent. I think this one takes place mostly on the feet. And I would have to lean towards Chimbuekem, but I do like the rhythm of Vellante as well. So this could be a potential spot for a dog. Vellante plus 165, minus 205 on Chimbuekem. Still benefiting off a lot of hype he had off the Contender Series, but at least in the Contender Series looked very uncomfortable. Kind of didn't perform up to the level he had against opponents that were 3-1, 1-1, 0-0, 0-1, 3-3. So this could be another step up in competition. I'd say buyer beware here, and a potential dog in Vellante could definitely come through in this fight. So it's a good fight to kick off the card. It's the first fight on the main card. Really looking forward to it, and I think that's a decent line on Vellante. I think he could get to a decision here. So moving on, next fight here, Jacqueline Amorim taking on Megan Owen, 2 undefeated fighters, Brazil versus Canada. Megan Owen out of Canada, 1-0, fighting out of MMA Masters, so she's got a very good gym behind her out of Ontario, Canada. You always like to see that. She does not have her weight or does not have her age listed here, but she is fighting. She fought her previous fight at strawweight, so staying as a strawweight here. Went 2-2 as an amateur, got knocked out once, had 2 armbar finishes as an amateur. Lost to Jade Mason Wong, who I have heard of as well, by split as an amateur. Joined the PFC in 2019 December, so a little over a year ago, and beat Ashley Letourneau by decision. That's about all I know on her. Jacqueline Amorim, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu player, as we can see, 3-0 in her young career, but triple the experience of the 1-0. 26 years old. I believe pretty similar age range for the two of these fighters. She has a grappling loss to Raquel Canuto, who's a really legit grappling wizard. Lost by points, didn't get finished, so that's impressive to me. As a pro, 3-0, no amateur experience, but as a pro, arm triangle, arm bar, and a rear naked choke. So legit grappler here, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt as well. I think she gets it down to the ground and is able to get Megan in the submission. That is what I would assume. But Megan, 1-0 and 2-2 as an amateur, does have a little more experience overall. This could be a good one, but I think Jacqueline, there's a clear skill advantage in the jiu-jitsu, and I do think Jacqueline gets it down. But this price I don't like at all, minus 450 for Jacqueline Amorim, plus 350 for Megan Owen, but it's probably one I'm going to leave alone, but I'll take Jacqueline to get the submission. 3 subs by 3 different methods. I think she gets a 4th here. And yeah, we'll be interested to see how they progress her. We saw Tabitha Reese recently make her debut, Baby Shark, and looked better than a lot of people expected. So good prep ground here. Next fight, another flyweight fight. We got 3 flyweight fights and a couple middleweight fights on this card. Christian Natividad makes his return. Kevin Natividad's brother taking on Luis Aguilar. Luis Aguilar is 2-2, nicknamed Pinga. Has not fought since let's see, May 7th. So he's not fought in a little over 2 months. He fought for EXF, and overall fought a 0-1 guy, submitted him in second round. Has a couple losses, one by split, one by injury. Hasn't faced anybody of notable record here that I'm seeing. I do like that he's stayed pretty regular in 2020 and 2021. He had a fight, so that's encouraging. But he's got a tough matchup here. Christian Natividad 3-0. They're bringing him along real intelligently, in my opinion. The last fight against Evan Woolsey had a little harder time than he expected. 5'5", 69.5-inch reach. So he has a shorter, smaller 125 fight-ready MMA. The fight against Evan Woolsey, Evan had not fought MMA since 2014. And once he started to stuff some of those takedowns from Christian did have to kind of gut it out. He stayed with the wrestling game, stayed with the pressure, and was able to get a decision. But again, he was in that fight, Christian Natividad was a minus 1,400 favorite. Evan Woolsey had lost a few boxing bouts since the last time, and then hadn't fought MMA since 2014. So I do like that they're, going a little bit cautious here with Christian. They're not throwing him into the wolves, giving him another guy in Luis Aguilar, who's 1-2 or 2-2, depending on where you look. But very young, very green is Christian Natividad. But he does have pretty powerful wrestling, good strikes. So I like Christian to improve off that last performance. I don't think it hurts to see some decisions early on either, and Christian maybe gets another decision here, but minus 450 favorite. This one, I get Jacqueline has a massive advantage on the ground, as does Christian. I think there's a size and strength advantage also for Christian, but minus 450 is tough, especially coming off a not great performance against a guy in Evan Woolsey who, is not great. And Christian made him look a lot better, but I think Christian should get the win, go to 4-0, start to move into that co-main event range. Next, the return of Marcus Perez at 185, taking on Cristiano Froelich. I think this is a fight. I think this is potential fight of the night. I think this and the main event are potential fights of the night. Extremely exciting matchups and potential for really good performances here, in my opinion. Christian Froelich, he's a wild man. Pure Muay Thai Brazilian striker, 30 years old now, 6'1", 76.5-inch reach, fighting out of Evolution Thai MMA. He's a pure striker. He's really goes in there and gets very aggressive. He is not a killer be killed either. He's only been stopped one time in his MMA career, 10-5. There's an interesting picture on Tapology, 6'1" light heavyweight out of Curitiba, Brazil. Currently on a one-fight losing streak from April 21st of 2019, where he faced Carl Albrechtsen. If anybody who knows Carl Albrechtsen knows that he's a very legit opponent. Had a big win over in Bellator. Good wrestler, good overall. Big light heavyweight. Just a big. But this fight was, I believe, this was at light heavyweight. So Cristiano coming down from light heavyweight here, back down to middleweight, where he has fought previously in his career and had success. As I said, Cristiano never been finished by submission, was finished by punches twice early in his career. Hasn't been finished since 2014 against Alberto Uda, who made a UFC run as well, so no shame there. Marcus Perez coming off of his UFC run now. Former LFA champion, beat Ian Heinisch to give Ian Heinisch his first loss back in LFA by arm triangle to gain his way into UFC. Then UFC was loss, win, loss, win, loss, 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 which equals getting cut. His losses were to Eric Anders, Andrew Sanchez, Wellington Turman, who we've been able to see a little more of, Dricus Duplessis, who's a very solid guy out of South Africa, and Dalcha Lembuku. Dalcha champion, I'll just say. Another solid dude. Hey, good to have you here, Bunny. Welcome. Just, getting a little bit of Ben action in for the LFA tomorrow in between the storm here, trying to keep the dogs all calm. Dags. But Marcus Perez, yeah, he's on a rough losing streak right now. 3 straight. He also lost his grappling bout. So just, right now, hasn't had a win since his win over Anthony Hernandez back in February of 2019. Has a win over James Boknovic as well. Yeah, I think this is a fantastic fight. I do think Marcus Perez looks to get this down very, very quickly and get it into the grappling range anytime, buddy. I got you. Even though that Cristiano has yet to be submitted, I do think Marcus Perez has a level of jiu-jitsu when he really focuses on it and doesn't try to stay on the feet and try to, overdo it with the stand-up to where he can, I think, has real slick chokes, real slick arm triangles, anaconda chokes. I see him being able to give Cristiano his first defeat on the ground. One of Cristiano's recent wins, I believe his most recent win by knockout, was a pretty shady stand-up. The guy, his opponent got him down pretty quickly with a real solid single leg. I see kind of that being Marcus Perez's route. He goes in there and doesn't even look to strike very much. I think he looks to take this to the ground and get it to where he gets to win. So I'll take Marcus Perez to break the 3-fight losing streak to 3 opponents that are frankly much better than Cristiano Froelich. But I think this could be fight of the night. If it is on the feet, I do think there's fireworks to be had. So I'm going to take Marcus Perez minus 175 favorite over Froelich plus 145. Definitely Froelich's getting respect from the odds makers here. I'd love to see the weigh-ins as well to make sure that Marcus Perez is locked in. It's tough coming off 3 losses, though, for sure. So, but I feel pretty good about Marcus Perez. He's a parlay piece for me at minus 175. And this, we're just cruising along here. But American Top Team, I still really rate very highly. But Cristiano Froelich did impress me against Carl Albrechtsen, the Bellator product. So this could be, if he's able to make that trip back down to middleweight, look good at it. I could see this being a potential upset of the night, but I'm going to go with the favorite Marcus Perez. Main event time for the interim flyweight LFA championship of the world. This means quite a bit. When you win the LFA flyweight championship, you end up going on to the UFC. Jimmy Flick, Kai Kara France, the list goes on and on. Jimmy the Brick Flick. These guys just it's very telling when you are able to string together wins and get an LFA championship. And yeah, we're just flowing here and having a great time. Glad you can be here with us, Bunny, or with me, I should say. And yeah, anybody else who's joining, I mean, we don't take the week off. There's MMA to be had, and we're gonna have a great time tomorrow night on Fightpass, 9 p.m. 6-fight main card. So definitely check it out. Main event championship time. Charles Johnson, Yuma Horiuchi. Yuma Horiuchi, I will be breaking down first, 8-3 out of Japan, 23 years old. 23 years old. And so he is just getting better and better. Fighting out of Team Oyama, where my boy Fernando Padilla is fighting out of. I'm always got a soft spot for Team Oyama. But it's a really good, very good camp over there, especially on the grappling end of things, which is where Yuma has shown his strengths for sure. Yuma coming off that win against Freelo. I think it's Craig what is it? Donovan Freelo. I'm sorry. Donovan Freelo took the fight on short notice. Yuma was supposed to take on 8-0 Carlos Candelario. Donovan took it on 48 hours notice. And frankly, Yuma got all he could take out of Donovan in that fight. Donovan was, rushing him, crowding him quite a bit, eliminating some reach, which is what Yuma's going to have to do in this fight against Charles. Charles will have a pretty significant reach advantage of 3 to 4 inches. So Yuma's going to really have to go to that grappling. Coming off of 2 split losses before that win against Freelo, where he got the armbar victory. Those splits, I went back and watched. Both fights were just a little bit of a case of lack of aggression out of Yuma to kind of take the fight to where he needed to take it. I think that could be an issue in this fight as well, especially on the feet. Charles Johnson out of Tiger Muay Thai, he won a scholarship to go out to Tiger Muay Thai. All he had to do was pay for his way out there. But by doing that, goes out to one of my favorite camps, especially for stand-up in the world, which is Tiger Muay Thai. Energy is his nickname for Charles Johnson, 8-2, 30 years old, 5'9", 70.5-inch reach. So we got the 4-inch reach or 3.5-inch reach advantage, 30 versus 23. It's the movement and it's the use of the jab that is the key for Charles Johnson. Against Carly Pangilinan, a very good shorter fighter who really looks to pressure. Charles was just able to keep the volume going. Carly was well aware that he had that reach disadvantage. And yeah, Charles has that reach advantage in so many fights. And I think that often that reach advantage can really play a huge factor. If the guy with the longer reach isn't using the volume, the reach gets eliminated. And then a guy like Charles faced in his last fight, Carly, could very well, have gotten inside on Charles and crowded him. Rather with this, we ended up in a position where Charles was able to use the jab, able to really frustrate and start to hurt Carly. And sorry about the dogs, but, the dags will bark. But frustrate Carly. Carly ended up moving in on a double and got pretty sloppy. Charles was sprawled on it, and then before Carly could get to his feet, Charles sprung onto that neck, got a anaconda choke, sunk in deep, and put the fight away. And for a guy in Charles who's known for his Muay Thai, was a former boxer for a few years before this, had a loss to Brandon Royval back for the LFA Flyweight title back in 2018. We know how good Brandon Royval is. Charles Johnson really impressed me in that fight against Carly. I think this is a very close fight, though. Yuma did have a very flat performance in his last fight, but 23 years old, rapidly improving here. It's really it's one I've been back and forth on. Charles Johnson also fighting out of St. Charles MMA. Julius Anglikis, we know, fights out of there. A few other fighters. So really respect both camps here. And I just think Yuma has a lot of potential here, and the potential to possibly spring the upset could really be in line here. And I'm actually going to go with the upset. I'm going to go with Yuma here. I think Yuma gets inside on the reach, gets this fight to the floor. Could very well be a 5-round decision. I think both guys are very well-rounded, though. I'm going to just take the younger, more improving performer here, and Yuma Horiuchi. I do believe he is the underdog as well. So, and I think whoever wins this fight is getting into the UFC or a Contender Series fight. Yuma is a plus 160 dog, minus 200 for Charles Johnson. I think this is a very close fight. I think the odds are off. And I think that at 23, going on 24, Yuma continues to improve here. So that's my dog. That is my dog. I think that's my only dog pick of the night. My only dag pick of the night is Yuma Horiuchi. So just in case you're joining me late here, first of all, sorry for the dog noise, but storming outside and, dogs are going to play. So, but to go through this, I got Oscar Herrera over Arpan Gurung. I got this one's another one that I'm possibly looking into the dog in Volante in, but I'm going to take Chibwickem. I'm going to wait for weigh-ins, though. I'll take Chip Wickham to stay undefeated, go to 8-0. So I'll take him. I got Jacqueline Imarim by submission, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. Christian Natividad to wrestle and control Luis Aguiar and possible get back on the finishing ways here. So those two pretty heavy favorites. I like Marcus Perez also to really use his submission and grappling game, get this fight to the floor. I'm hoping for a first-round submission of him, of Froelich for Marcus Perez, but I want to see weigh-ins before I'm investing fully on Marcus Perez. But I think level of competition, I think this being a must-win for Marcus Perez, still only 33 years old. I think there's still time for improvement here. Main event, one of these two fights is my fight of the night, in my opinion. I do think this could very well be it, but I also think it could be a technical war that some people may have trouble finding the entertainment in. Charles Johnson versus Yuma Horiuchi. I'm taking Yuma Horiuchi, the 23-year-old Japanese grappling product. Had not a great performance against Donovan Freelo, who has faced some good fighters, but was on 48 hours notice. I think a full camp in preparation and improvements between camps. I like Yuma here. So, yeah, that is for the LFA 110 betting breakdown and prediction show. It is going down tomorrow night. I'm sorry, I kind of lost track of the days. I meant to put this out on Wednesday, so it'd be a couple days, but allowed the lines to get out there. I think it's an excellent event, a great use of your Friday night. I always watch the LFAs. I'm not going to miss this one. There's no UFC this weekend. Got to get that MMA in somewhere. So I just want to thank anybody for joining me. This is still the little MMA channel. We're growing at a steady rate here. I just want to keep bringing in quality people. Obviously, if you didn't tune in yet, watch Brian Battle's episode of Tough, currently out on ESPN Plus if you haven't yet. Brian obviously will be back next week to break down the UFC pay-per-view, Conor McGregor, Dustin Poirier 3. We might be joined by another special guest. However, I have to clear it up with that person ahead of time to see if they can join us as well. But we'd love to have them on also. But for Aaron the Dog, I want to thank you all for joining me. And have a great day. Have a happy 4th of July. Stay safe out there and keep taking care of each other. Thank you so much for joining me. Have a great one, everybody. Peace.